Welcome to episode 18, Showstoppers. I don't like to do the YouTube stuff, and I'd like to get right into the episode, but real quick, I post on YouTube posts, on the channel, when I, updates about the videos on the channel, about everything, basically. So I highly recommend you look at those. Also, subscribing, activating the notification bell, and all that stuff so you can actually see the episodes when they get uploaded, since I feel like episode 15 didn't really get noticed by anyone, which could probably just be an algorithm fault. Unless you guys really just don't like episode 15, in which case, fair enough, I respect that. Anyway, into episode 18. This is a flippin' doozy. This is gonna be one hell of an episode, so I'm gonna need y'all to strap in and be ready for one hell of a roller coaster. This might end up being the longest episode I've ever made, outside of maybe the part 1 and 2 of episode 1, because that's 2 episodes in one, but even then, I don't know. This is gonna be an episode. Bad friend point, no one really does anything. This is a really solid episode all around, and yeah, oh boy, good luck. We enter this episode to Applejack leading several children deep into the woods, to give them a treehouse. Oh, okay, yeah. Also, red apples. I'm not gonna get over the apples anytime soon. So this clubhouse was apparently Applejack's, and it resides deep within Sweet Apple Acres. The apples must have so much land, honestly. More land for farming than there are, homes and houses in Ponyville. At least that's what it feels like most of the time. The CMC aren't the most excited to be given this old fixer-upper, but we'll see them change their tune shortly. If that wall just caved in from leaning on it, how is the floor staying intact? There's not even creaking noises from them walking on it. And we join Scootaloo now, who appears to be stalking the main six based on her sheet she has in front of her. We also see her scooter for the first time, I think, which propels her with her wings instead of kicking, which is a neat detail, and also the show not tell mentality of showing her issues with flight. Also, I know this isn't what the geography around Twilight's house looks like. There's definitely more houses, but the show's never really going to be consistent about that, so I'm just going to point it out this once and we'll deal with it. Derpy 27. They make Granny Smith way more ancient than she's ever been shown in this one shot for no reason. And I'm pretty sure she never gets shown anywhere near this ancient ever again. It's just strange. Another great example of them showing and not telling is how they show us how Scootaloo is amazing at riding her scooter. Zipping around, going off jumps, avoiding ponies and obstacles. I will still chastise her for riding at what appears to be around 20 miles per hour inside of the town, which is not exactly safe for others, even if she is amazing at this. The whole point of them showing us this, and how good she is, will be delved into later. But first we gotta see what the other CMC are good at. We see that Apple Bloom, by herself, fixed up the entire clubhouse, including painting the whole thing, showing her skills at carpentry, repair, and home ec, which is really impressive. She even managed to sand it. She sanded out all of the flippin' splinters. That's ridiculous. Imagine having to hold sandpaper with your mouth, even just to move it to where you can use your hoof. That would be awful. We could have assumed these skills by her farmer life, but as we talked about in the last episode, they aren't always good at what you expect them to be good at. And we finally join Sweetie Belle, who displays what she already did last episode. No, not dusting with her tail. That she has phenomenal singing chops. She's also taking care of the dusting, but that's more of a menial task for her to do while she demonstrates the singing. She's also been writing the theme song, showing her creativity. Applejack shows up to see how things are going, but ends up creepily staring at them from the window. The main six like to use a lot of red flag behavior with their friends and family, and it's mildly concerning. So before anything else, why was learning what they're good at important? Well, because this episode, for as much as I dislike it, it is very important for themes and story involving the CMC, delving into a strangely philosophical discussion surrounding the meaning of life, fate, and destiny. I'm not kidding, but I am getting ahead of myself. For now, we're learning because their talents are important because of a talent show coming up. Before we get to the talent show though, we get to see a day in the life of the CMC and what their club even means and what they're going to do. They basically are going to try a bunch of random stuff to see if any of it is their special talent, despite us already seeing what their special talent is, quote unquote. This is one of the strangely deepest part of their characters, which is they're already special and good at cool things. But as I said in episode 12, they have to recognize their specialties and talent as what they want to do. Just because they're good at scooting, singing, and home ec doesn't mean that they recognize it as special or that they want to do it. This leans back into the hypothetical that I posed in episode 12. If you only do one thing forever, for the express purpose of getting your mark, would it appear? Or would fate have other plans? Perhaps you get a cutie mark in determination instead. Who knows? After feeding some pigs, something Apple Bloom probably already does regularly, no one gets their mark. Shocker. A common thread with the CMC is that they try something once and then expect their marks to appear. But that's never how it's shown to work nor explained to work, meaning the entire mission is quite literally a fool's errand. Honestly, the CMC story would be incredibly tragic if not for how things end up. Just a random small detail I noticed about Sugar Cube Corner here. The bird's nest here is directly under a lamp, which is similar to how we use heat lamps for eggs in our real world, so that's pretty cool. Speaking of Sugar Cube Corner, that's their next stop, and they're trying to make candy. Looks like taffy if I had to guess. Again, a weirdly high-tech device in an otherwise low-tech world. Also, they're only putting in 4 globs of taffy, but they're gonna get a full rainbow out of it somehow. Just kidding, I lied. They actually threw in 10 little bricks of it, which is more colors than a rainbow has. Not sure how they got rainbow. That being said, the taffy being rainbow colored as it latches on a Scootaloo could be a funny nod at how rainbow is going to attach itself to Scootaloo as a big sister figure later. Or it's just nonsense and I'm making stuff up. They then try to start a hair dyeing business at Rarities. Why? How? Where is Rarity? Why are ponies allowing fillies to put chemicals into their manes? They then go straight for psychic cutie marks. What? And then mountain climbing cutie marks from climbing a small boulder? Plateau? What would this even be called? And how is there snow and wind at the top of it? It's just a joke. Just a joke. We don't actually get to see underwater a whole lot in the series, so this is pretty neat. Also, scuba cutie marks in a landlocked town would feel kind of bad, no? I don't know if squids can exist in fresh water, but assuming they can, I don't think they'd be this big, and assuming they could be, well, you win then, I guess. The CMC trashed Twilight's house trying to be librarians, and Spike just kind of let it happen. He also tries to get out of it by claiming no part of it. Twilight is not so quick to buy into that, though. She knows our little dragon too well. By the way, welcome back, Spike, from your extended vacation. Also, Twilight is randomly hanging out with Cheerly for some reason. We don't actually ever find out why. I mean, this is also the library, so it's not a big shocker. Also, I guess that's how Twilight makes her money. She's a librarian. Huh. We don't actually get to see that very often. Ah yes, Cheerly is here just to bring the talent show to their attention. Would have probably thought they'd already know about it since, you know, they're in school and would have probably been told about the school talent show beforehand, but oh well. At least we get to see Cheerly, I guess. Twilight drops a little My Little Pony joke by saying My Little Ponies. I don't know why I keep pointing this out. I just kind of enjoy the title drops and it's funny. They really do it a lot in the early season, honestly. I think there's even one more in this episode. And now the preparation for the talent show begins. Hopefully they didn't just steal a bunch of fabric from Rarity and ask for permission first. The answer is no. No, they just yoinked it with no hesitation and didn't even ask anyone for it. So yeah, that's not cool. Mr. Breezy the fan salesman makes his first appearance here. I honestly forgot that he did because this is an episode that I usually skip, but it's a cool detail because he reappears in one of the Rarity episodes down the line. Also, the CMC claim they're going to return all of the stuff they have, but yeah, no, they're not going to. Alright, so the CMC have 4 stolen bolts of cloth, 1 rented fan, and now from the hardware supply store, no fun background character here unfortunately, they now have 6 wooden planks, a 4x8 plywood board, a box of nails, 4 cans of paint, and 4 brushes. What is this, the 60s? What store owner would allow a child to buy all of this? Better yet, how did Scootaloo afford it? I mean, I guess she's using the money her parents sent her / saved her, but it feels weird that she would be the one buying them? Or did she steal it / rent it / borrow it again? Sweetie Belle sasses that they don't know how to use any of these things, including looking at Apple Bloom, who shrugs, despite Apple Bloom literally this episode completely restoring the treehouse. Consistency, thy name is failure. Ghosts, Goblins, and Ghoulish Creatures is the book they get from Twilight. Can't wait for them to explain how it gets used. I don't think they ever do. I think it's for the costume or makeup. I don't flippin' know, though. Also, Twilight says good heavens, so I guess heaven is a thing in Equestria. Unless she means heaven as in, like, the heavens above as in the sky, is a more, like, colloquial term, I guess. Alright, and now, Apple Bloom says that Sweetie Belle should do the singing, because she's great at it. But Twilight said to do something they enjoy, or want to do. And so she's like, I want to be like Rarity, so I'm gonna do the costumes and backdrops. And Apple Bloom again tells Scootaloo that she should do the choreography because she's so good at her scootering. But she says, nah, I want to sing a rock ballad, despite earlier when they were singing, Applejack was actively hurt by Scootaloo's voice. And finally, Scootaloo tells Apple Bloom to do the choreography instead. And Apple Bloom says, I can't dance, but I can do kung fu. So we have a klutzy singer doing detail work, a tone-deaf stunt pony doing song, and a handy pony doing dance. This can only go well. Apple Bloom immediately fails and crushes Scootaloo's tail by falling while dancing. Scootaloo proceeds to demonstrate how to dance, also demonstrating to the audience that she would have been the perfect choice for the job. And now Apple Bloom is going to try a more difficult maneuver because it looked easy when Scootaloo did it. Yep, everything's going great. And of course, Sweetie Belle loses her fabric and moves to help Scootaloo write the song, because Scootaloo doesn't know what a rhyme scheme is. Should have gone to Zecora for help, honestly. Also, weird detail, and just go with me on this. Sweetie Belle's tongue looks normal, yeah? But here it looks kind of like a whitish gray color similar to her fur. It looks normal in most other scenes. I'm not sure how they messed it up with the close-up. I also know it's supposed to be her tongue because it moves when she talks. Scootaloo says coming up with words is super hard. Maybe her weaker education is also a link to her home life? I'm not sure whether it's just like a funny haha look at the Dumbus, or if it's actually foreshadowing for her backstory, or if it's just a character trait. But Scootaloo hasn't really been shown to be the dumb one, so I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, Sweetie Belle, as we expect, crushes the task at hand, and it fills out the rest of the show don't tell the show is doing about how they're all great at what each other is doing. What's interesting is, I'm pretty sure the lesson of this episode isn't do what you're good at, or trying new things goes terribly, such thoughts that we and of course the younger audience might think while watching this episode. Instead, it's something just completely superfluous. I'm not sure where they got the sewing machine as it wasn't with the supplies they got earlier, but either way, no kid as young as her should be using it, especially with how clumsy she's already been shown to be. Curiously though, she hasn't really hurt herself. Instead, she just stitched an extra leg to her attempt at an outfit. Apple Bloom crashes in to tell Sweetie Belle that ponies only have 4 legs, which, other than being my favorite Panic at the Disco song, is also unhelpful advice. But we're going to see Apple Bloom show her resourcefulness, and again, why the jobs they wanted aren't the jobs that they should have, quote unquote. That being said, Sweetie Belle learns how to use the mannequin horse for the clothes, and that she needs to clean her paintbrushes between uses. The first one I feel like should have been known from her seeing Rarity work so much, and the latter should have probably been common sense, at least at the age we presume they are. Colors and paints are usually like a preschool level thing in my opinion, and they're actually at least in grade school, so yeah, I don't know. Apple Bloom also hits Sweetie Belle with the burn of, "You aren't using power tools, are you?" I guess they're trying to establish Sweetie Belle's the creative intelligent, Scootaloo is the physical intelligent, and Apple Bloom is the common sense intelligent. And what I mean by that is they all suck and are dumb at some things, but they're absolute geniuses at others. It's another way of showing and not telling that even if you're great at one thing, you're not necessarily great at another thing. It's a great lesson to teach kids, and it can help them learn patience. How much you want to bet that's a letter to Celestia at the end of the episode? I haven't gotten there yet, but we'll see. Applejack comes by again to check on them, but leaves horrified at the art, quote unquote, she's witnessing. The CMC notice her and head out to ask what she thinks, and thankfully the honest Applejack simply can't put into words what she's just witnessed. And the girls think that they left her speechless. In a good way, when it was speechless in the bad way. Applejack's honesty is intact, because she just didn't say anything. Derpy 28, Lyra 29, and Kid Destroyer 3000. Snips and Snails do a classical magic act, and I just realized that this probably is inspired by Trixie, because they like her so much, including her act, so that's really cute. Good job, Snips and Snails. Cheerily calls Snips and Snails the SNS Magic Act, so that's cute, that's their name. Also, Bonbon is here, so Bonbon 36. She also wasn't here in the previous shot, weird. It's also the first Bonbon in a while, since like episode 13 by my count. We also hear that Sunny Days and Peachy Pie are reciting poetry. I definitely heard Pinkie Pie the first time I watched this. I wonder if they're related. We get a glimpse of the CMC's outfits, very Kiss inspired, which is a strange that they would not only know about that band, but that they would make such an illusion in a kids show. I know they do things like this for the parents, but it feels like this one's a little bit more strange than most. Also, Apple Bloom, how are you holding that mirror? And Sweetie Belle explains what break a leg means to the others. Considering she's been around the theater more because of Rarity, I guess that tracks. Also, Twilight drops another My Little Ponies here. Told you it would be another one. 2 in 1 episode is kind of rare, I think. Not sure if it happens again. Probably, though. It's also an unspoken thing in this episode, but apparently Spike and Twilight are just helping out with the event, I guess. So, yeah. Twilight does the quiet part out loud and says that they just need to stick to what they know best, and presumes Sweetie Belle will be the one singing, meaning that even she knows what all 3 of them are good at, likely due to her talking to their sisters. Quote-unquote sisters for Scootaloo's situation. Sweetie Belle even gets annoyed, wondering why everyone always assumes that. The way the CMC think is actually really interesting. They don't think they're good at things. They just do it and are good. Or they don't, or they do it and they aren't good. They don't really see it in any other way. At least in these episodes. They get a little more self-aware after the mess we're about to get into, and Scootaloo calls Twilight by her full name again, which is weird. A little less because it's a little kid talking to an adult, and not even like a relative or anything. But Scootaloo tells Twilight that she's actually done lead vocals, which causes Twilight to cock her head ajar in a classic "wait, what" maneuver. And as the CMC all reveal the roles they've all chosen to play, Twilight gets nervous and worried, which we know is for good reason. Even asking if they are sure. I'll probably do one more rant summarizing all the stuff at the end. It's gonna be a big one. Well, this is why I personally hate this episode, and it's on my skip list and every watch through I do of the series. As I've talked about, and will continue to talk about later, this is a fantastic episode from a writing, theme, and lesson, and even philosophical standpoint. But it also has this extreme cringe in it, and I personally absolutely despise social cringe humor. Saying or doing something cringe-inducing with friends in private is one thing, and it can be funny. But this show, and most shows in general, use cringe humor in a public setting, and that secondhand feeling is on my top 3 worst feelings imaginable. So, needless to say, this one section of this otherwise great episode is why my personal rating for it is like a -5. It doesn't do anything nearly as horrible to the series as some other episodes that we'll get into, obligatory Celestia and Pinkie rant tease here, but I hate those on a personal and critical level, whereas this episode I only hate on a personal level. From a critical standpoint, it's pretty solid. So far, having looked at it pretty closely, it is well written as heck, and it's also deeply layered, which is both confusing to say and even more confusing to realize that after all my years of hating it, it's not a bad episode. I just really don't like it personally. Still can't enjoy it due to what I said, but I don't expect my score at the end to match those negative feelings, so stay tuned. Even Applejack is cringing, even if it is out of worry rather than like pain. So I'll try to do some lyrical discussion should I find them interesting, but for now, I'm gonna silently suffer through this and I'll get back to you after the song is over. Nope, nothing that interesting. Just more of them not feeling like complete beings without their marks, which is their entire motivation. If I had something nice to say about this entire scene, it's that the guitar in the background is cool. There might be a little bit more. We'll find out. Okay, putting aside my whining, the fact that Scootaloo not being great at singing and not being able to come up with lyrics, she still did memorize the entire song, and she hasn't stumbled or stuttered once, which is really impressive. The show doesn't shy away from those kind of details either, so I assumed it was intentional, to show that even though she's not great, she did put in effort, and that's truly respectable. And they brought the house down. That's a good thing, right? Girls, are you dead? Oh good, they're alive. That would have looked terrible on Cheerilee's record if she let 3 fillies commit die on her stage. We've got disappointment, anger, and sadness. They're all feeling different things. The trio get laughed off stage and are obviously upset. Scootaloo even claiming that it didn't go as expected because they didn't really care that they're bad at it. They just wanted to have a good time. Or they were just oblivious to that fact, but I think they knew they weren't the best at it and they just wanted to do it for fun. Apparently Diamond, Tiara, Silver Spoon, and Twist were in the talent show, but this is also apparently taking place before episode 12 because Twist doesn't have a cutie mark. But if it was taking place before then the CMC wouldn't know each other yet, so they forgot her cutie mark. Also, Spike helping run the show, as I said before. Also, Cheerilee tells the CMC to be good sports and that they put in an amazing effort and should be proud. Where was this good teaching when Apple Bloom was getting bullied, you absolute waffle? I thought this was going to be an every pony that participated gets an award type of event, but Twist, Tiara, and Spoon are all just standing there with no awards smiling, which is very out of character for at least 2/3 of that group. Weird. Anyway, the awards are Best Magic Act, Best Dramatic Act, and Best Comedy Act. They all have personalized medals for them, so why are they so weirdly specific criteria? Also, what acts did Twist do? Or Diamond, Tiara, and Silver Spoon? I imagine Twist probably did comedy and the other two did drama? If so, how did 2 random backgrounders beat out the drama queens? This was a weird show in general. The talent show was weird. And we arrive at the letter to Celestia. "'Tis thus. We shouldn't force things and should try to do what we're naturally good at. Comedy." Okay, so not exactly a serious letter to Celestia then.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
They're already placing Rainbow Dash as Scootaloo's mentor and sibling this early in the show, which is really nice. And so we see the 3 older siblings praising their little ones for all their hard work. Wholesome as heck. And then Twilight remarks that quote-unquote one day, likely implying that they'll come to realize what their talents really are, which she believes at the moment, being singing, scooting, and home ec. So I'll finish this episode out with my own letter to Celestia, right before the outro and the ranking. Enjoy. Dear Princess Celestia, this episode and the CMC in general. This episode, from every critical perspective I have, is kind of amazing. And I have to shove my personal bias way down to be able to talk about this as objectively as I can. The CMC are the embodiment of struggle. They want more than anything to get their cutie marks and become quote-unquote complete. Of course, they're already complete, and they're chasing a fairy tale of their own creation. They think that what they so desperately need is their mark to give them an identity, one which they've already crafted. Whether it's the talents they displayed in this episode, or the talent they'll display in future ones. They already know where they need to be, whether they actually know it or not. If we go back to how cutie marks work from what the show has said and what we've deduced, they all have already discovered that they're special talents, quote unquote, the exact thing that they're great at, but because they're so blinded by the ideal they've created, they don't recognize it. And it's my belief that recognition is the key to all of cutie marks. There's this fancy chart called Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs, probably mispronouncing his name, but you'll understand. It's some super complicated psychology thing, basically showing what everyone needs to achieve self-actualization. The CMC have already achieved the bottom 3. Well, maybe the bottom 2, as they have episodes in the future delving into love and belonging, but their main struggles early are with esteem, and what I believe to be the crux of cutie marks in general, self-actualization. Or as the show would put it, recognizing your full potential and appreciating yourself, life, and what makes you, you. Even through all your faults and misgivings, we see the CMC embody this very principle. They fail and are bad at dozens upon dozens of tasks throughout the series. But not only do they not give up despite their sorrow and pain on the path that they themselves chose, they will have hesitation and regret and keep pressing on, seeking their truest self and their true happiness. This little pyramid right here is basically the CMC's entire character arc in the show. And I would have never noticed or even thought of any of this without this series. I'm having a pretty good time, going through the episodes I love, like episode 14, Suited for Success, or an episode I utterly despise, like this one, and finding not only new appreciation for what I already loved, but also appreciation for what I didn't. In my own way, I've gone through a bit of a mini CMC arc of my own, as I've recognized that despite my own bias and misgivings towards something as simple as like a children's cartoon, or characters there within, there was something still to learn, and understand about not only this episode, but also how I enjoy and understand media. Even if this journey ends before its destination, it's already been worth it. Thanks for listening. I'll pass you to the outro. And that was episode 18, The Showstoppers. Don't want to leave you on a somber note, but hey, this was a pretty damn good episode. I still really can't get over that scene, but in a straight up objective point of view, there's not really anything wrong with it. And if I'm going to throw my biases to the side, I'm going to have to give this one a really solid 8 out of 10. I think the only thing that could have made it better is if the song was actually like really deep and emotional, and if there was, some more character writing for the main cast. Because while this episode was really great, it was mostly talking about the CMC, who at the end of the day aren't the focus of the show. Maybe that's being up too harsh. This could be the first 9 out of 10, but I'm just gonna stick it with an 8. I've already had to push my biases way down to get it this high, so I'm not gonna push my limits. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.